Hello everybody and welcome to bowtieteacher.com. I'm Rob and in today's video we're going to be looking at the quadratic formula. Let's get started. So what is the quadratic formula? Well, I've written out the quadratic formula here and it may not mean very much to you at the moment, but when we have a quadratic equation it's of the form ax squared plus bx plus c. And a, b and c can be any value. And what we need to do is we can solve any equation that has this form using the formula, putting it into our calculator and getting the results out. So we can use the quadratic formula for any quadratic equation that we like. But in the exam, the key to this, knowing when to use this, is that they'll ask you for an answer that has 3 significant figures or 1 decimal place. Because usually we would have an equation and we would try to factor this into 2 double brackets and then solve this in a normal way. But if they say 3SF or 1DP, this isn't possible, so we have to use an alternative method. We can use completing the square or we can use the quadratic formula. So let's have a look at an example. 2x squared plus 5x plus 3 equals 0, like that. What we can do is we can identify the a, b and c from this equation. The a is the term in front of the x squared, the b is the number in front of the x, and the c is the number that's left over at the end. And the signs of these are important. So the plus 3, and we have a kind of invisible positive 2 there. So we substitute these numbers into the equation and we will get our 2 values for x. So x equals negative b, so negative of plus 5, negative 5, plus or minus the square root of b squared, 5 squared, minus 4a is going to be 2, and c is going to be 3, like that. We're going to divide that whole thing by 2 lots of a, 2 lots of 2, like this. Tidy this up, we have minus 5 plus or minus the square root of 25 minus 4 times 2 times 3 is 24, all over 4, which equals minus 5 plus or minus the square root of 1 over 4. So, if we take the 2 values here, one where we're using the positive in the plus minus and one where we're using the negative. So for our first value of x, let's call it x1. That can equal minus 5 plus square root of 1 all over 4. Minus 5 plus 1 over 4 is going to be negative 1. For our x2 value, we're going to have minus 5 minus root 1 over 4. So this is where the plus minus is really important because we're going to be using the plus for one of the x values and minus for the other. Minus 5 minus 1 is minus 6 over 4 is minus 6 over 4, or minus 3 over 2 minus 1.5. Okay, so we have our 2 values for x using the quadratic formula. If we have a look at bowtieteacher.com and we go to GCSE Math and we go to level 7, then this will give us some practice at ones that have a bit more of an answer that isn't very nice and we'll have to round. So let's do a new one here. 7x squared plus 3x minus 6. We're going to solve this equation equals 0. So using our a equals 7, that's the thing in front of the x squared, b equals 3, that's this part here, and our c equals negative 6 this time. Our formula, which is in the front of the book, minus b minus 3 plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times 7 times negative 6, all divided by 2 lots of a. So minus 3 plus or minus the square root of 9 plus 24 times 7 all over 14. Okay? We can get our calculator out and have a look at 24 times 7 plus 9, and we have minus 3 plus or minus square root of 177 over 14. So as you can see, these numbers aren't very nice, and we can put both of those into the calculator, one where we have a plus sign and one where we have a minus sign. Alternatively, we can use the formula which is built into the calculator to help us. So if we go on the class whiz down to equations and function, polynomial of degree 2 because it's a quadratic, and we're going to put 7 for A, so it's set out the same as this, 7 for A, 3 for B, and negative 6 for C. And there we go, minus 3 plus root 177 over 14. If we need the decimal version for that, we've got 0.736. That's our first x value, and x2 will be, press equals again, minus 1.164. So we can now use these to check our answers on the app. So 0.736 to 2 decimal places, 0.74 and minus 1.16. Okay, so we've got that correct. We can use the app to practice this as many times as we want, just to get used to writing out our calculations and using the calculator to check to see whether we've got our answers correct. We can also use the quadratic formula if there's a normal one, like I did in the first example there. So this one actually gave us some relatively nice numbers there. So we can work our way backwards if we want to and actually fill these brackets in as well. Okay. If you have any questions or comments, leave them below or email me at mrwakeling@bowtieteacher.com. Good luck, and I wish you well in your exams.